Hey everyone, welcome back to another SUPboarder video. This video is all going to be about the new Red Paddle Co. Future series of paddles. We did the full Future series on the boards, and now we're going to be looking at the paddles because Red have put just as much work into their new paddle range. This simple but still very performance driven range of paddles is going to be right for a lot of people out there, and hopefully by the end of this video you'll have an idea if those people are you. As always guys, please comment, like, subscribe and share, and also check out the main SUPboarder website and SUPboarder Pro for more SUP goodness. Now Red Paddle Co have always had a range of paddles alongside of their boards, but this new series of paddles is definitely much better than the ones in the past for several reasons, which we're going to jump into in this video. And also for many of you out there looking at paddles right now, you're going to see, and hopefully by the end of this video understand, that the Red Paddle Co range is a much simpler way at looking at a paddle range in the constructions, the sizes and the type of paddles you should be looking for. Because really Red just want you to progress through paddleboarding using their boards hopefully, and of course their paddles, but making sure your choices and the decisions you make are the easiest and the gear you choose is designed for your type of paddling. So because of this, there is 4 new paddles in the range. We have the Cruiser Tough, we have the Hybrid, the Prime and the Ultimate. Now there is going to be technically maybe a 5th paddle in there, and that will be the Cruiser Tough. They do make that in a 5-piece, which will be in the compact boards as well. So technically there may be 5, but really 4 at their core. Going through these 4 main paddles and looking at their constructions and their price points, the Cruiser Tough is a plastic glass fiber paddle. So it's a glass fiber shaft and a full 100% plastic recyclable blade. This retails at £149 or around 183 euros. And this 3-piece weighs 833 grams when we weighed it. And the 5-piece, for example, which is the compact paddle, weighs 890 grams. The features that are on that paddle: you get the T-grip plastic handle, which is recyclable as well. You get the low tension cam lock, which is very easy and quick to adjust. There's also an anti-twist channel, which means your handle will not twist no matter how hard you're paddling with it. The plastic blade is an 80 square inch plastic blade with a deep central scoop on the blade. And the logoing on the paddle is laser etched as well, so it's something that won't rub off over time. The diameter of this shaft and all the others is 29 millimeters. The Cruiser Tough paddle is designed for the ultimate in hard wearing and durableness. Because of the plastic blade, it can take as many knocks as you can give it. It's going to be great for whitewater paddling, great for families, great for kids to dig sandcastles, all that sort of stuff where you don't want to be worrying about who and where and what you're going to be using your paddle for. It's not going to give you as much performance as some of these other paddles will, because there will be a little bit more flex in that plastic paddle blade. But to reduce that flex, they have put strips down the back of the paddle to help and give it a bit more stiffness. A great entry-level paddle for somebody getting into the sport, still going to give you a good amount of performance, but not as much as the other paddles. I will be touching into what these paddles feel like on the water at the end in a summary, and giving you pros and cons of course as well. Moving on to the Hybrid paddle. Now this one is a carbon glass fiber composite shaft. So that basically means the carbon in the shaft is going to give you a bit more stiffness, and it's going to bring the weight down. The blade as well, it is a carbon fiberglass composite blade, but with a polymer coating, which gives it that sort of plastic sheen. For me personally, the only way I can describe the sort of look of that sheen, it's almost like the plastic milk bottles or some of the plastic bottles you see around the world. It has that very slightly matted, slight sheen to it, which does make it very, very tough and hard wearing. You can't even scratch it. The retail price for this is £199 or 244 euros. The weight of this paddle when we weighed it weighed 775 grams, and that one, like all the other paddles, is only available in a 3-piece. Now the Hybrid does share a lot of things in common with the cheaper Cruiser Tough paddle. It still has the central push pin connector, it still has the easy cam lock, the anti-twist channel and the same T-grip plastic handle. And the blade shape is exactly the same size with the central deep scoop in the middle of the blade. But the back of that blade is different from the Cruiser Tough because you have got composite layers, you've got carbons, you've got fiberglasses. You can have a smoother, thinner back of the blade, which is going to give you more performance when you're paddling in the water. Now the hybrid is probably what you've guessed it, designed for more performance, but still a huge amount of durability in the paddle. Being thinner in its profile, overall profile, compared to the Cruiser Tough paddle, it's going to make it way nicer and smoother to paddle, and it's much lighter again as well because it's got the carbon in that fiberglass mix, which is going to bring the weight down. It's going to give you more stiffness as well, so when you're placing your paddle forward and pulling it in the power phase of the paddle, which is where you're pulling your paddle back, it's going to give you much more stiffness, therefore it's going to push you along much quicker. The hybrid paddle is going to be a paddle that a lot of people are going to end up pushing for as their first paddle, and it will be a very comfortable and good choice to go for a paddle like that. A good amount of durability still for the kids to use the paddle themselves, but it's going to give you enough amount of performance to progress. If you wanted to paddle further, faster, go SUP surfing, just do a little bit more with your paddle. Now I want to move on to the Prime paddle. This is definitely where the paddles start to look a bit more special, a lot shinier, a lot nicer finish. Now this one is a full carbon shaft and a carbon blade. It's going to bring the weight down much more on that. This one weighs 685 grams when we weighed it. Because of the carbon, the price point is going to go up there, and it's retailing at £249 or 305 euros. The handle on this as well is a carbon handle. It's a 3K carbon handle, so you've got much less weight in the handle compared to the plastic ones. And also throughout the whole paddle, because of that, you're going to find the paddle is very stiff and very connected to the water. It has the same fittings as the other paddles with the central push pin connector. Still got the low tension cam lock with the central chanty twist channel. The blade is exactly the same size, the same amount of scoop, but you're finding the profile edge of that blade is thinner compared to the hybrid and compared to the Cruiser Tough. Really, you can see where we're going with this one. This is just going to offer you that much more performance when paddling. Again, going from the hybrid paddle, you're going to find it's a more responsive, it's going to require less effort to get more out of your paddling. So this is a paddle that you are going to be happy to use for longer distances because it's lighter. It's going to be easier to use in the recovery stage of your stroke, which is where as you bring your paddle out of the water and reach further forward before you put your paddle in, it's going to just feel lighter and easier on your arms. Definitely not going to be as tough as the hybrid. You're going to have to look after it that little bit more, so it's going to be aiming for somebody who's probably using it as their only paddle and not sharing it with their friends or family, which to be honest is a lot of us out there. There's nothing wrong with having a nice paddle to use. And last but not least, we have the Ultimate, which is exactly as it sounds. It's the best of the best. This paddle is a pure carbon paddle, just like the Prime, but it is a pre-preg carbon shaft and a pre-preg carbon blade. Now what that means is it basically means that the carbon is laid up and it has like a sticky back surface to it, so it requires less glue, which brings the weight down. The weight overall of this paddle weighs only 600 grams when we weighed it. Also, this one is finished off with a 12K carbon handle. Again, brings the weight down, means they can have less material in that handle. It's all designing to keeping the paddle as light as possible. You still have the same central push pin connectors, you still have the same low tension cam lock with the central channel, exactly same blade size, blade angle, shaft diameter as all the other ones, but you are going to be reducing that profile of the paddle. So the edges, the tips of the paddle are thinner again over the Prime paddle. So really this one again, just like I was saying with the phase of the paddle stroke, as you're bringing your paddle up, as you place the paddle in the water, that is the catch. That is where you're catching the water. Having a very thin profile edge on the paddle is going to allow you to place that paddle in the water very smoothly, very quickly, and start your power phase again. So this one, the Ultimate, has got everything. It is designed for the easiest, lightest, and the quickest repetitions of paddle strokes. Very nice to use. But just like the Prime, it's going to require you to look after it. the same. It's probably the same sort of toughness between the Prime and the Ultimate. That one retails at £349 or around 427 euros. Because that price point is definitely probably going to be the one person paddle. It's just going to be your paddle, and it is going to be something you're going to look after and cherish. And it's definitely going to be somebody who's more committed to paddleboarding and probably wanting to paddle more in a specific discipline, touring, racing, SUP surfing. You could use all of that, but really you're more committed, I would say, to paddling. But now if we look at the summary of using these paddles, because I can give you an overall summary of all these paddles together because they are very similar in their feel. All of these paddles, for their construction, are very well balanced. So what I mean by that is there is no paddle that is really heavy in the paddle shaft or really bulky when it comes to using the paddle blade. Even the Cruiser with its thicker profile at the back is very comfortable to use. And for the construction and the price point, it's a really nice paddle. Obviously, as you move up in price point and construction, the paddles are nicer to use, lighter, quicker, require less effort. That's going to be understandable. Because all these have the same deep scoop, they have a very comfortable and stable feel in the water. So as you place the paddle in the catch and pull it back in the power phase, the scoop is holding the water, giving you a stable feel. It doesn't feather, which is where the paddle may move from side to side as you're pulling it back. The scoop gives you a stable feel, allowing you to pull you past the paddle very effectively. Looking at the other end of the paddle, looking at the handles, they are generally a smaller handle, which is well suited to a lot of different people with different size hands. Very comfortable and easy to grip if you end up going for the Ultimate with the 12K handle or with one of the cheaper blades with the plastic handle. The handle does feel physically the same. There is a difference in texture, obviously between the 12K and the carbon paddles compared to the plastic one, but the size of the handle is the same. Moving on to any observations or negatives, things you need to be aware of. Now these are all the same size of blade, 80 square inch, 203 square centimeters. That is going to have a drawback for some of you, not very many, but for some of you. If you're sub 60 kg or over 110 kilograms and you are a more of a top end performance paddler, let's say, SUP racer, long distance adventurer, somebody who wants to get the most out of their paddle, maybe you could be looking at a smaller paddle blade or you could be looking at a bigger paddle blade. But the flip side of that, for probably 90% of you, this paddle blade is the size you want. It's the size I want, it's the size that many people want out there. And by them just having it on 4 different types of constructions, 4 different price points, it makes buying a paddle so simple. The other potential observation negative that actually we turned out is not a negative at all was when you go to buy the 5-piece compact, we initially thought, oh, it's quite long. You don't get very much adjustment with it because if you're 5'4", 5'6", you can't really get the paddle low enough to paddle. But then we realized you could just take out the midsection and make it a 4-piece paddle, which is going to allow a wider range of paddlers again. Kids are going to be able to use that paddle. So there is that option to make your 5-piece in the compact Cruiser Tough paddle a 4-piece, making it even lower again. It's a great little add-on feature there that we didn't realize, and it was a negative, but now it's become a positive. For us, Red Polka have really upped the games with paddles this year. Definitely in the past, I felt they've lost their way a little bit, and their paddles were not as good as their boards. This new range of paddles is easily as good as their new future series of boards. All these paddles work and paddle really well, and they will suit different people at different price points wanting to do different types of paddling. But the 2 standout paddles for us has to be the hybrid with the, I would say, pretty indestructible blade, but still offering you a good amount of performance with the carbon fiberglass shaft. That is the paddle I would say, if you can afford it, buy into that as your first time paddle. It's the paddle that's going to last you a long, long time. The hybrid is definitely a standout for us. And also the Ultimate. This is a paddle that was missing for Red Paddle Co. for so many years. This is a paddle now that is going to be competing against other top-end paddle brands that do cost more money. Okay, if you are one of those people that are looking for the top-end paddles and obviously are looking for a 3-piece paddle, you have to try the Ultimate now. It can easily compete with the more expensive paddles, and definitely for you traveling racers, traveling tourists, traveling challenge paddlers, the Ultimate is one you need to look at. It's been really nice to see and use these paddles from Red Paddle Co, and it's really good that they're actually just good paddles to use. So definitely check out a Red Paddle Co paddle this year if you're going to be buying one. Whether you're starting off or progressing as a paddler, there is a paddle in that range that will suit you. Hope you found this video interesting and informative. If you've used these paddles, all the other comments and stuff, get them in the comments box below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. My name's Ruben, and I'll see you on another video soon.